Hello everybody, Raven Knight here. Today we're continuing our dive into the heroes of For Honor, analyzing them for their lore, historical inspiration, playstyle, design, and overall feel. I have long been of the opinion that Arabia would be a unique place to draw a warrior or two for Honor's roster, but the question would be how to do it. Would you go for a cunning assassin character like an Alibaba's 40 Thieves kind of thing? Would you be a more powerful scimitar-wielding Janissary of the Ottoman Empire? Would you perhaps go for an all-out Persian immortal? The answer we got was surprising, for we got something kind of in the middle that draws inspiration from the Mamluks, but with a moveset that screams something like, I got everything in the kitchen sink at my hands, you know? Today, we're talking about that amazing Arabic Swiss Army knife, Afeera.
What is fate, if not an ally? A friend who walks with us in life. A guide who delivers us to journey's end. Too long have we stood aside. Now, at last, we enter the fray. We are the Afeera. Let us light your path.
Now, in the distant land of Arabia, the people of Baghdad have been largely fruitful, successful, and free of strife and hardship. What's their secret? The Celestial Sphere, a magical artifact that shows its holder the future, allowing the Arabian people to respond to any potential threat or incident with perfect precision. Under the guidance of a wise sultana, the only person allowed to use the sphere, by the way, the Arabian people were able to endure and flourish. However, things changed when an envoy from Horkos arrived in Arabia, led by Ravier the Black Prior. She met with the Sultana, who had already learned much about Heathmore thanks to the sphere, and was eager to know what Ravier wanted. Ravier manipulated the Sultana into letting her see the sphere, and after Ravier looked into it and saw what she desired, she shattered the sphere, killed the Sultana, and fled back to Heathmore with her information and with her retinue. However, before Ravier could deliver her report to Astria, Arabia had sent its own specialized warriors to deal with Ravier and punish her. The Afeera. These warrior women were taken from destitute girls of Arabia, given an education and training, and were tasked with defending the throne of Arabia and punishing its enemies. They attacked and killed several of Horkos' soldiers, although Ravier managed to escape and get her information to Astria anyway. Even so, the Afeera have not forgotten their grudge, and they remain in Heathmore now to do something. Yeah, I don't know. The lore for Afeera is kind of weak for various reasons. Like, for one thing, why did the Sultana trust Ravier if she knows what's going on in Heathmore thanks to the sphere? I mean, the lore clearly told us that thanks to the Celestial Sphere, the Sultana was already well aware of Heathmore and what had been going on in it, so she had to know that Horkos was bad news. Why would you let Ravier in knowing she's from Horkos? Why would you do that? It's almost like one of those things where it's like, I'm so wise that this person couldn't possibly bamboozle me, and yet you let this person you know you're too smart to be fooled by get right up close to your most treasured item that only you're allowed to look at. Moron. You're a moron. I don't care how smart you think you are, you're stupid. You saw the wolf in sheep's clothing, took one look at it and said, nah, I'm too smart to fall for that. I know that it's a wolf in sheep's clothing, which means I'm smarter than the wolf, but I'm still gonna let it in to prove to it that I'm smarter. What? I don't know, that's dumb. And then there's also the fact that the Sultana, even if she's stupid, let this person, this dangerous individual, get close to the sphere, but there were no Afeera around to protect the Sultana or the sphere? You mean to tell me these elite warriors, who, even in the lore, admitted they were still distrustful of Ravier, whatever the Sultana said, you're saying they weren't on hand ready to jump into action? There aren't regular guards around this sphere or around the Sultana? Was the Sultana just like, nah, ladies, it's cool, I can take care of myself around this obviously evil person? Again, it doesn't make sense. And then, add on to that, how come Ravier escaped Arabia? Are you saying they shattered the sphere, killed the Sultana, got out of the palace, got through the city, got through the desert, got to the harbor, and got all the way back to Heathmore before the Afeera could catch up to them? Are you serious? What were they doing? Were they asleep? And now the big question, the biggest question of all is, what are the Afeera still doing in Heathmore? Previously, you could make the argument that they held a grudge against Horkos and wanted to stay in Heathmore to keep punishing Horkos, but now you can't even make that argument. I mean, according to the lore, they've repaired the sphere. They need to go back home to put in place a new Sultana to rule their people, or new Sultan, whichever. They have no reason to stay. Horkos is gone. They're defeated. The Hatuns are in power, and the Afeera have no quarrel with the Hatuns, at least not as far as we know. So why are they still here? The only reason you can come up with is some of the Afeera just decided to stay for some reason, which, okay, why'd they do that? You know, it's bad lore writing, and I'll be honest, this is around the time when For Honor was doing really bad lore writing. This is during the Ocelot and Afeera period, where they're just doing the classic Horkos do bad thing to other cultures, so other cultures send their warrior to go get revenge, and thus we get our new hero skin and season. This was a period of very bad writing for the lore, and I'm not going to pretend it wasn't. So the lore is obviously very weak for the Afeera, but that's the lore. That's not something a lot of people put a lot of stock in. But let's talk about the history, because the history is something I genuinely care about. What is Afeera based on? Let's get into it. Now, if you want to hear the full breakdown of Afeera's historical inspirations, go check out my Heroes in History video on it. But in short, the Afeera are largely based on the Mamluks of the ancient Islamic Empire. Now, the Mamluks, you might not have heard of them, originally were slave warriors, but they grew in prominence over time and infamy in the Islamic Empire until they eventually came to rule it themselves, expanding the empire far beyond its previous borders. They were masters of war and remained the undisputed rulers of the Middle East until about the rise of the Ottoman Empire. While there were no women warriors among the Mamluks, let's make that clear, as the Islamic Empire had strict cultural and theological reasons for not wanting women fighting in a war, the first Mamluk monarchs were in fact a sultana, and the fact that Arabia for the Afeera is a flourishing empire fits as well, as the Mamluks certainly did lead to tremendous growth for the Islamic Empire. Now, I go into a lot more detail on the Mamluks and their history in the Heroes in History video. Again, go check that out. I would really appreciate it because it was a fun video to make. And I know that there's some of you out there who want to make the argument, oh, but Raven, don't you know that this armor piece or this weapon piece looks more Persian in origin? And I agree, there are some Persian aspects, like for the fact that the Afeera wear trousers, they wear pants, which was more common for the Persians than it was the Arabians. But I bring that up and I make a lot of other points and suggestions as to why they're based more on Mamluks in the video. Go check it out. I explain it all there, so would love for you to go see it. But that is the history. That's something I know I really care about, but I know something else y'all probably want to hear about is the design and builds. How do you make a good-looking Afeera? Well, let's talk about it. So it's time to be frank here. Y'all ready for this? So Afeera is lacking in the design category. Most of her helms and armor pieces look similar to each other, and some of the helms limit your color options. A very obvious example is the one where she has a teal face mask that does not change no matter what color or material you use, meaning certain colors are just going to clash horribly with it, limiting your design options, unless you just don't mind the clashing color scheme. But people have told me that. They're like, I don't mind clashing colors. Okay, that's fine. You don't have to. But for me, I care about colors working with each other. So, yeah, that can be very, very difficult. Plus, her mace head designs often look a little strange. Like the creators didn't quite know what shape they wanted to go with that, so they just go with random shapes. Now, as far as her emotes go, it's fair to say that she was the cocky, spunky female character that Virtuoso wanted to surpass. She has a mocking laugh emote, a finger snap emote that looks like it should be a universal one if I'm being honest, a hip swaying emote, and a handstand emote. It's clear she was meant to be the spunky heroine. She was meant to kind of be this kind of spunky, kind of flirtatious, very feminine, very playful character, which is Ironic when you understand the role of women in ancient Islamic society. You would not see a woman typically acting like this, but that is beside the point. Now, I have made 3 builds for my Afeera, 3 builds, and I will show you them here. The first one is Yahel, or Yahel. This is a character who we named after a figure from the Bible in the book of Judges. We'll talk about her in another day and another time, because I'm going to make a whole video about her, a character concept video. Then there's Lamia Castriati. I did a whole legend video on her, and it's one of the most controversial legend videos I've ever made. I still occasionally get people messaging me saying that one was a bad one, and that's fine. You're free to your opinion. And then we have Hannah herself, my friend Hannah, who does a lot of art. I tried to make a character for each of my close friends, and Hannah's was an Afeera. And that about does it for the design, so let's talk about executions. Now, if you want to hear all of the grades for Afeera's executions, you can go check out my executions graded series and see what I have to say about it there. But at least here I can talk about my favorite and least favorite. My favorite Afeera execution is probably Feats, and it's one of her default executions, and it's simple, but I love the way the shield and mace is used here. I like the way the mace is just used as a discombobulating tool or a disorientation tool a couple times. I like the shield striking at various points, and then finally the smackdown. It just looks so solid. It's quick, it's cool. I like the way it's all done. My least favorite is gotta be Divine Precision, because she throws her shield into the air and then hits it like a baseball straight into the dude's face, and then it just bounces back into her hand like Captain America's shield. I'm sorry, that's just kind of dumb for me. I know a lot of people like it, and it is objectively her fastest execution, so a lot of people get it just for the speed of the execution, but for me, it just looks silly. It looks goofy. I'm not a fan of it, but if you like it, you like it, you know, and I will always say that. If you like something that I don't, you're free to like it. I will never judge you for liking something that I don't, but I just don't think it's that good, so that is why it is my least favorite. But that is pretty much all there is to say about the design and build of Afeera. Really enjoyed talking about that, but now it's time to get into what, you know, everyone wants to talk about. I called her a Swiss Army knife before. What did I mean by that? Well, let's talk about how you play Afeera. Buckle up, guys. This is going to be crazy. Alright guys, it's time to talk about Afeera's moveset. Like I said, she's kind of a Swiss Army knife. Think Shinobi, who already has a lot in his kit, but they put even more in Afeera's kit. Afeera has everything in the kitchen sink, and to explain that, we're going to walk through her moveset together, but it's a lot, so bear with me. I'll try to make this as short and sweet as I possibly can. Let's start with the basics. Like all heroes, Afeera has a basic hit combo. She has a 2-hit combo of light, 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 heavy, heavy, light, or heavy, heavy. Now, here's where things get kind of cool. All of Afeera's light attacks have crushing counter properties. So, if Bro would throw a heavy. Now, this is all of her lights. Even if you miss the first light and they throw another, you can still get them with that second light. All lights have crushing counter properties. Now, the heavies, the second heavy of any combo will have a different property depending on where it comes out. So let's walk through them together. First, the top heavy is undodgeable. So if your opponent tries to get out of the way, they will still eat it. The right heavy is unblockable. And the left heavy displaces. It knocks them backwards and can wall splat. See how I'm moving my brother around and around with this attack. So like I said, changing the direction of the last heavy will change its property. So make sure you know what position you're in. Because for example, if I'm over here, Lark, would you stand right in front of me here? Near a wall? So if I was in this position with an opponent, notice how he's now wall splatted and I can hit him. Pretty cool stuff, right? So as long as you know where you are in the map, you can use those secondary heavies to your advantage. Now, let's talk about the next facet, the bash. Most characters have a bash in this game, and Afeera's is no different. Afeera's bash is a shield bash. But here's the cool thing about her bash. Unlike most bashes, which guarantee a light, hers guarantees a heavy, and the follow-up heavy will have the property that it would have as a secondary move. So that means that if I were to bash my brother, any heavy I throw after that counts as a second heavy in a combo. See what I mean? Now, there's another facet of this bash you need to know. Stay there, bro. Don't follow me. This bash is unique because it will chase your opponent. I can be a distance away, and I will run across the map to get my brother. See how cool that is? But I can cancel it by dodge canceling, or just by hard canceling. So it is something that I can bait my opponents with and not follow through with to force them to dodge. And that can help me out because if they try to dodge, guard break. Alright, so y'all kind of see that Afeera is working with a lot in her kit, right? So you're like, okay, alright, she's got crushing counters, neat, she's got unblockable, she's got undodgeable, she's got displacers, she's got a running bash. Okay, that's pretty good. End of character, right? No, we're not. We're only about halfway there. So let's start with the next bit. Afeera has superior block. She does not have an all guard like most shield characters, but she makes up with this for what's called a superior block. For those who do not know, a superior block means that if I block an opponent while moving or striking or any of that nature, I gain access to a new property. So I'm going to dodge, and my brother is going to throw an attack, and I'm going to connect with it. So if you wouldn't mind. Oh, my bad. That was my timing fault. Go ahead. So if I do it at the right moment, I get a free shield bash. Go for it again. Oh, my fault. I didn't do it at that. There we go. So as you can see, this is another very good trick with Afeera. So I can bait my opponent by starting a heavy. They go to parry it. And I still hit them anyway. So lots of stuff that Afeera can do. Lots of stuff that Afeera can do. Now let's talk about what makes her such a little gremlin, such a demon on the battlefield. Here's how it goes. Just like Shinobi, Afeera can do a free dodge cancel after any attack. And I do mean any attack. Light, flip. Heavy, flip. Bash, flip. And unlike Shinobi, who can only backflip, Afeera can go forward, backwards, left, right. She can go anywhere she needs to do. She can go anywhere she needs to go. Now keep in mind, if I do a backflip like that, there is a brief delay before I can attack again. So be aware of that. Plus, if I throw a finisher heavy, it may take a second. There we go. So with this flip capability, you can easily dodge a lot of opponents trying to counter you. So if I were to say, let's say I threw a light and my brother dodged to do a dodge attack, I could flip out of the way of his dodge attack if I really needed to. It would be very, very easy to do. Afeeras are very good at bouncing around and evading attacks. It's just their bread and butter. They stay out of the way of the enemy and just pepper them. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Raven, that's kind of cool. So they can flip and then do a lot of other neat stuff. That's neat. What else can they do? Oh, I'm glad you asked. After they do any flip, they can perform a knee strike. And that knee strike grants a free heavy of any property. So let's try it. Light, heavy, bash, unblockable heavy. See what I mean? It is so easy to get into this mix-up with Afeera. But there's one more trick we haven't talked about. I know. Y'all are probably wondering, Raven, when are you going to talk about it? When are you going to talk about it? Come on, Raven, get to it. All right, we'll get to it. The Kasaki kick. After any light or heavy attack, Afeera can perform a kick mid-combo, which grants a free heavy. Now, why is this such a big deal? Because you cannot punish this kick. You heard me right. Unlike Gladiator or Conqueror, who if they miss a bash, you can guard break punish them. No, Afeera, you cannot guard, break, punish the Kasaki kick. Yeah. So basically, she gets a free bash that grants a heavy and then can go right back into the combo. It's kind of disgusting what Afeera can do. As you can see, she's kind of nuts. With all these abilities to stay mobile, move around the opponent, and then gain access to various different properties in her attacks, Afeera can be an absolute nightmare for the enemy. So knowing what your opponent's going to do is crucial to make Afeera work for you. Knowing how they're going to dodge attack, knowing how they're going to respond, learning your crushing counters and superior blocks is all very important to do with Afeera. Oh, and for the record, I didn't talk much about her zone. The zone of Afeera isn't all that special. It always comes from one way. It's pretty slow, but it does grant access to any of your other moves, including the flip or the Kasaki kick. So the zone can be used to start up a combo, especially if they're expecting a light, but more often than not, people just block it or parry it. Now, I will also say that one thing you may want to consider, that top undodgeable is probably my favorite of the heavies because people often expect the kick, right? They often expect you to do the kick, so they're going to want to dodge. Well, you're not dodging that. Also, I should mention that the side heavies are delayed so long in the strike that even dodging pre-early can be dangerous because Afeera could catch you in it. So it's always good to keep a close eye on what Afeera is trying to do. Now, when out of lock like this, you can do a running heavy. And here's the cool thing about that running heavy. Once you lock on and hit them with that heavy, you can easily backflip out of the way and go right into your combo. It's just so easy to get into these combos with Afeera. It's kind of crazy. So I hope this helps you guys understand a little bit about what Afeera can do. It is so crucially important that you understand how powerful she is. She's one of the best duelists in the game because she has so many options for so many situations. No matter what hero she's up against, no matter what situation she finds herself in, Afeera has options, and that makes her a very strong hero. But of course, as many people have said, I need to talk more about the unique feats of these heroes. So very briefly, we'll go over her feats. Her first feat is called Gravity's Pull, a 500 millisecond bash which does 15 damage and then throws the opponent behind you. There's no guaranteed strike after this, but what I like to do is start a heavy afterward to bait them into dodging, and then I can guard break them. It's kind of just a quick and easy 15 damage, but it's nice and a lot of people use it. Fortune's Favor. After landing any attack or bash, you gain a defense buff for 5 seconds. So literally, anytime you strike someone with a bash or a hit, which is very easy to do with Afeera, you get a slight defense buff. This is a very good passive second feat. The third one is Speeding Comet. You perform a Fleet-Foot charge with a full block property, which means you're charging at the opponent like before in all guard. Once within range of the target, you perform a 500 millisecond grapple, which does 20 damage, throws the opponent, and then confirms any follow-up attack. So in other words, I can be far away from my opponent, charge them with this feat, close the distance, perform the move, throw them after it does 20 damage, and then I will still get a free heavy. Now, bear in mind, it can be dodged. So don't rely on this too much. If they see it coming, they will try to dodge it. But you want to know the cool thing about this feat? You want to know what's cool about it? Want to know what's cool? You can cancel the feat. Yeah, the feat is treated like a move. You can actually cancel the feat and not lose its usage. So you can throw off your opponent pretty crazy. Isn't that nuts? Isn't that nuts? Is Afeera not nuts? But then we have our fourth feat. The fourth feat is Orbiting Shield. You throw your shield, then that shield pulls a Captain America shield, and it will ricochet and hit not only the target you threw it at, but their allies that are within range, doing 30 damage to each target and placing a defense debuff on them for 20 seconds. Be warned though, if you hit your own ally, the shield will do the same damage and debuff to your own allies. So you want to make sure that your allies do not step in the way of your attack, because if they get hit by the shield, you will only be debuffing and hurting your own team, so you want to be careful about that. And that just about covers everything in terms of Afeera's moveset. I think I got all the basics down, and now we can wrap up the video. And that about wraps up everything with Afeera. We've gone over everything that I can possibly think of, so let's wrap this up. What do I have to say about Afeera? What can I close on? Afeera was both a good character to add and a bad character to add. And let me explain what I mean. From a lore and design perspective, I think she's lacking. Her lore is weak, and there needs to be a good reason for her to remain in Heathmore besides just, oh, she showed up to punish Horkos. Because Horkos is no longer here. Lore-wise, she has no reason to remain. You need to give her, and frankly Ocelot, more reason to stay in Heathmore than just, hey, look, Horkos. There's got to be another reason to draw them here. And in terms of design, I want them to give her more armor sets and designs that allow more differentiation of color and design. Like, for example, like I said, that face mask that stays teal, please change that. That annoys the spit out of me. But leaving all that aside, in terms of her playstyle, I actually like her playstyle. I know that I called it incredibly annoying at times, but I think that's just because she has so much in her kit. She has an answer to just about everything, making her a god in duels. And so playing her can be very fun, but playing against her can be very, very frustrating. I enjoy playing her, but whenever I know I'm up against one, I always find myself sweating a little bit because it can be so frustrating. So she's a great character in terms of play style and in terms of attitude and personality, but not that great in terms of lore or design. I feel like that all could have been fixed. But regardless of that, I really do enjoy her. And in answer to everyone's question, do I think that there will be more Arabic heroes to come in the future? Maybe, I don't know. I think For Honor just kind of picks one hero per culture to throw in. They don't really go for the faction thing anymore. But hey, who knows? Maybe we'll get one in the future. If they do, no idea what they'll do. But Afeera, for what she is, was fun. So that's all I have to say about this hero. Looking forward to the next For Honor analysis video, and I will see you in my next video. Take care. Well, look at that. Afeera beat Ravier.